Yeah. All right. So
Your
the next topic
tonight.
the next topic I wanted to bring up is the same-sex marriage bill that just passed in the Senate. So somebody posted this comment and they said, I got confused over the same-sex marriage bill. I thought it was already legal, which because of Obergefell, right? My cousin is gay and he got married years ago, so I looked into the bill. It will allow the IRS to revoke the tax-exempt status of churches that hold fast to traditional marriage. Religiously affiliated adoption centers and foster care providers would be forced to close down for the same beliefs. A small business owner who chooses to only support traditional marriage would be able to be sued under this law. So, my unpopular opinion is that this is a good thing.
It will, yeah.
You're not supposed to agree with me.
Because
you never agree with me. All of a sudden, you agree with me?
Well, that person said, due to the Supreme Court case, it's already legal, right?
Right.
So, yeah, this codifies it in the law, which would make it difficult for the Supreme Court to revoke Obergefell later. But who cares? How well did that work out for Roe v. Wade, right?
Right. So here's why I think it's good. I think tax exempt status for churches is the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah. It neuters the church from discussing politics.
It neuters the church from discussing politics. It makes the church cozy up to certain political parties, right? So
can you imagine what will happen to the USCCB if the government cuts off all the tax-free funding? They're liberal bishops, because the liberal diocese that no one goes to mass in, they get all their money from the government. That goes away, and their power is gone. And
so this is why I think this is a good thing, right? So this is like, so if you are holding to traditional marriage as a church, you lose your tax exempt status, you lose your government contracts. You can no longer deal with the immigration crisis because you are breaking the law, right? Yeah. So it will actually force the church to make a decision. Are we going to follow Christ or are we not going to? So you mean the USCCB will have to go and do a few bake sales? Well, my major point is this. It has been too easy for too long to be a Christian. It has been too easy for too long to be a Christian, and it makes it so that anybody can claim the Christian title. And I think those days need to be over. I think that it needs to be a little difficult to be a Christian so that you can weed out the people who don't really want that name.
And I think, because it's not going to happen to just Catholics. It's going to happen to all the, the right-wing evangelical churches too. And they're going to be just as upset at the Republicans as they will the Democrats. This could destroy the two-party system in the country, potentially.
Well, look at this. Father Altman. Everybody praises Father Altman. I do like Father Altman I think he's a good priest, and I think that he truly believes the truth of the gospel. I believe that he believes all the truths of the Catholic faith. My biggest issue with him is when he got involved in politics, and he should have not only called out and said you can't be Democrat and be Catholic. He should be calling out the Republican Party as well.
Yeah,
he should not be rah-rah Trump. The Republican Party is just as problematic. It's definitely not nearly as problematic.
Right. They're not equal.
No way.
But they're both on the side of wrong.
Here's my thing with the Republican Party. It's not a Christian party. Like they welcome in the rainbow thing too. And in my eyes, the rainbow thing is just as problematic as abortion. It is. You're talking about the corruption of morals to a degree where if you're going to welcome in the rainbow thing, you're welcoming in promiscuity that will lead to abortion. So whether you publicly support it or not, you're supporting policies that will lead to it. Like you have to make a stand on these things. No, they're not on our side. They're not. They're not nearly as problematic as the left. But I have a hard time when people
they're
only
only for
talk.
slaughtering babies up to 6 weeks instead of all the 9
Yeah,
months.
like Lindsey Graham on. Well, we'll make a federal law about 15 weeks. It's like, all right, great. You're still allowing it to happen. What was that?
I was just, when you said Lindsey Graham, I just said go pound sand.
Yeah, basically. But the point is the rainbow thing is all Christians talk about is the abortion thing. And yes, it's horrific and it's the greatest crime ever. But the whole gender thing, the gender ideology thing and the rainbow lifestyle is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. And there are too many. These 12 Republicans that voted in favor of this, I wrote something the other day. I said Republicans would go as far to get I don't even want to say it. They would go so far as to partake in the activity of the rainbow people,
so they don't seem
to not come off as being bigoted towards that group, right? So, Mac, I agree, but the thing is, the rainbow stuff leads to it, right? It's just causing laxity in the sexual promiscuity, which will lead to more of that. They're not a separate issue, is my point. I'm not saying one is worse than the other. I'm saying they're the same issue. They are all one and the same.
And also, like you said, not to say one is worse for the other, but which one is one of the 4 sins that calls out to God for vengeance?
Yeah. I'm sure murder of innocence does too, though, right? Does it actually say that? And what are the 4 sins? It's obviously the rainbow thing.
Willful murder does. So abortion does too.
Is a sin that cries out to heaven.
The sin of Sodom, oppression of the poor, and defrauding servants of their wages.
Yeah. Oppression of the poor and defrauding servants of their wages. Right? That's a sin that cries out to heaven. So when you hear modern people say, I actually saw a YouTube short the other day where the guy was saying, he's like, well, God wrote this book and this is the God of the universe and he got slavery wrong. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He did not get slavery wrong. Depriving workers of their wages.
This is an unpopular opinion here. Could potentially.
What's that?
The church's actual teaching on slavery.
What is it?
That it is not an inherent evil, such as abortion or things like that. That it can be practiced in ways that are moral.
Well, here's the problem: when people hear the word slavery, they think the Atlantic slave trade.
They think, chattel slavery.
They think chattel slavery, the North Atlantic slave trade, or that's what they're thinking, and that's not historically what slavery was.
Historically, slavery was, let's just say the term indentured servitude was made up to rename slavery. That's historically what slavery was.
Yeah. So it's like, and the thing is, so back in the time of Christ, like you're hearing Paul say, slaves, be good to your masters and things like that. The point is, they most of the time, think about when the soldier comes to Jesus and he says, my servant is sick. Like, they would consider the servant a family member. This was a member of their household. It was like a son to him. That servant that was sick. Yeah, slavery wasn't like it was during the mid-Atlantic slave trade. It's just a very different thing.
Modern credit systems actually are probably more, I would say, morally worse than the ancient practice of slavery, truthfully.
Which is why you always heard the church speak out against usury.
Yep. So
like when you buy a house, if you're getting a loan for 4% interest loan, that's not usury. But when you're getting a credit card with 19, 20%, 25% interest, when you're buying a car and you get 20% interest rate on your car, that is usury. That is taking advantage of somebody who does not have the money and abusing it. A home at 4% interest, that's not usury. It's a little bit different.
It's a complicated subject with people. There's tolerated opinions, a wide range of them, really.